What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a little instructional video on how to use a cat tourniquet. Cat tourniquets, in my opinion, are probably one of the most important tools you can have aside from your firearm. If you could plug holes, you should know how to, or if you can make holes, you should know how to plug them. All right. So with cat tourniquets, typically they're going to come wrapped in like a saran wrap, and they're going to come kind of like this, not prepped for use. So the first thing you want to do when you get your cat tourniquet is prep it. So what I like to do is I actually open up that timestamp. I'll actually open up the tourniquet to almost the biggest it can go. If you notice here, you have a red pull tab. Personally, I think that's a very small tab, so I kind of make a bigger one. And by doing that, it stops the tourniquet from coming out of the hole. So once this is all prepped like this, I fold it on itself, just like so. And I'll put that away, stow it away wherever I need to have it. Now, when I'm gonna use the tourniquet, I'll pull it out, open it to the biggest I can open it. And that way, if I need to go over a leg, I can go over a leg. If I need to go over an arm, I can go over an arm, no problem. Don't have to measure it out. Now, to our little sausage here. This sausage has a pretty big gunshot wound here. When you're gonna put on a tourniquet, typically it's gonna be only on extremity wounds, so your arms and your legs. You're not gonna be putting a tourniquet on somebody's neck. You're not gonna be putting a tourniquet over somebody's chest. You're gonna be putting it over extremities. So, rule of thumb is you wanna stay around 2 to 3 inches above the wound site. That's if you're not in a stressful situation. If you were in a super stressful situation, I would just say high and tight on the extremity and hope for the best. But the reason why we want to go 2 to 3 inches above the wound site, A, it's where you have like a fresh set of arteries to cinch down on. And 2, if say that your tourniquet application is poor, you have space to put on a secondary tourniquet. Now, when we're going to put a tourniquet on, you want to pull towards the user's heart. I right now am the user, so I'm pulling towards my heart. And the reason for that is that's how I can get all the weight down on that tourniquet. Now, if I were to be pulling away from my heart, I'll show you guys here, I can't get the amount of weight that I need to really cinch that tourniquet down properly. So if you see, that's not super useful. The other way is the far more useful method. So once you're around 2 to 3 inches above that wound site, you're gonna pull up and cinch down. Now, you don't have to get the Velcro all the way around. If you just get it caught right here, that should be good. And then that's when you're gonna start cranking down on your windlass. So, on a person who's conscious, this is typically when they're gonna be cursing you out. Now, what I like to tell people is, hey, in a couple seconds, you're not gonna feel anything anyway, because you're not gonna have any blood. But typically, 7 to 8 rotations is where you wanna be. And the reason why this is so painful is because anatomically, you're pushing down the muscles, the veins, the arteries, and all that jazz against the femur or the hard part of your arm, right? At that point, it's super, super painful because all that stuff isn't supposed to be compressed like that. And you'll get what I call tourniquet pinch. Tourniquet pinch looks just like that. It's a pretty big pinch. Way worse than any of your kids would do in elementary school. But once you get it all nice and secured on there, right there and locked, you're gonna put the timestamp on there. Now you can either write the time there on the timestamp or over their forehead. Typically, the reason why we put timing on the tourniquet is just to know how long it's been on there. In the past, like in the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, tourniquets were kind of like a death sentence to your arm. Typically, people would get their arms chopped off after a tourniquet was put on. But nowadays, with modern science, we figured out the compartment syndrome and how to fix that. So nowadays, you can typically put a tourniquet on for about 24 hours and still have complete use of your limb after surgery. So keep that in mind. You definitely want to put the time on there, but that is how you put on a tourniquet. And I hope that was helpful for you guys. See you next time.